Hello there. In this video I wanted to show roughly how Isomera project is structured, where you can find everything and how to run it properly in your local environment. Alright, so getting started, you can see file structure. It is NX monorepo. You can see NX, it has all the configs, basically, so it would work. Packages, all the packages are installed in one package.json place. File, there's one node modules, and all the specific application in this project is using only what it needs. So it's pretty convenient because you can reuse a lot of node modules like this, and you don't really need to install it on all the separate apps separately. Okay, so we have apps, which is our main applications, which is API, platform, and landing. In this case, we're planning to add more, thinking about React Native for mobile application, also thinking to reuse the same logic on the platform for authenticating users on the React Native side. Because of that, we have libraries, which is reusable components used by mostly API and platform. So it is DTOs. You can see, for example, authentication request, and this is, let's say, sign-in DTO. Has this basically payload what's coming in from the form to the backend, and it has all class validators here and here. Also, we have this configuration file which lives in config of .config. We will add more stuff here, of course, but idea is that we can configure a lot of things. And well, most important part, for example, for the password configs is that we have password validation on the backend, we have password validation on the platform, and we will have password validation on the application for the mobile. Alright, so that's pretty important, so we will mess up everything. If we change it in one place, it will be reflected in all. We have GitHub workflows, which are checking a lot of things, like CodeQL, so it checks code quality. It runs tests, unit tests from .spec.ts files on affected parts. It basically checks what is changed, and that's how it knows what to run. Then we have PR and push events triggering API build, so it is making sure that it builds properly. Same for the platform, and also it checks is it pretty. So it works on pull request and push. Alright, so we have dependable that ignores monorepo everything, and creates PRs to bump up all the versions for everything else. Alright, so we have these DTOs. I have created this implementation separately. It has authentication hooks, for example, use password reset. It is using mutations, so it's a React query. It's using like another layer which use this hook, password reset platform, for example, which has a React query implementation, and the form part is using formic, and the formic has property validate, which is calling custom method, which can validate against the DTO. So it will validate against a strong password and islang, and it gets value. So that's a custom prop. It is in reusable libraries in DTO section in utils. Alright, so it is doing that. Like what else do we have? So this is implementation. It is separated because, well, the idea is that not only platform, which is React project, will be using it, but also React Native will be using the same calls to the backend, which is not only hooks, of course, it is services and the service is basically where the route API points. So that's being tried to be made as reusable as possible, and of course, least dangerous. If developer needs to make it somehow super custom, it is easy. You just do it on the platform, on the React Native side, and that's it. Just that. Interfaces also. So, when you make an API call, you get the response, and for response using interfaces, not DTOs, nothing to validate about that, but still we need a structure. We need to know what's being done there, like what we're getting, so it would be much easier to code it. Alright, so what else? Here's documentation side, putting all the assets, pictures, and all that stuff. Here's Docker utility if you need. It's not working yet 100%, so no, trying to use it, but the biggest issue was that it doesn't work the same on Mac, Windows, and Linux, and even on Ubuntu and Linux Mint it's different. So it became a headache. Probably will get rid of it, and we'll leave only production builds that we will need. Alright, so let's see into Docker Compose what we actually have for the backend. So we have Postgres, it's latest 16th. It's using all the credentials from .env file. Same network. Then we have Redis. It's also using Redis password from the .env. Then we have Mailhog, so you don't need to worry about sending emails. You just spawn it, you go to localhost and 8025, and you can see all the email being captured which was supposed to be sent. And we also have Minio. Minio is Amazon's S3 or DigitalOcean Spaces alternative, which you can use just with Amazon's S3, I guess, as a bucket to store files locally, so you don't need to have a live paid environment for the same thing. Alright, so what else is worth covering? Let's see. Okay, API structure, I guess. It's pretty straightforward. What's this? It shouldn't be there. It was configuring the build. Alright, so app is the main entry point. It has all the things that's needed. It has some assets, authentication, configs for API only related things. It has database entities in one place. It has a mailer. It has templates. So decision was quite hard. So whether to use, let's say, Mailgun templates or let's say SendGrid templates or other things, but decided that it would be most universal if we could have our own templates in here. It would be easier. We wouldn't get vendor locked on those, so we could use it only as a SMTP gateway to send all the emails we need, and we would still get all the features that they have. For example, if you implement Mailgun with the API, you could get even webhook callbacks if somebody opened it, but we probably won't implement it in the starter. But all these opportunities are still there. We're using migrations, not automatic sync of entities. We use migrations to be much stricter. Migrations really looks pretty nice. It's object oriented. All the objects, you don't use plain queries because it can be written in this neat way of objects. Alright, also we have tools, TypeORM, just stuff for TypeORM, and the user, it's a service and profile and all of these things for the user. And it's Next.js, pretty standard, nothing much to see here. It's basically intended for landing pages because every SaaS project has a landing page, so why not to have it there? And then platform. Platform has one override for API property, because API property is from the Swagger, and frontend doesn't like backend stuff being on frontend, so we just have this dummy function that does nothing. So we can use successfully these DTOs with API property, and API property gets captured by Swagger, and if we run API, it will display it properly. Alright, getting back to the front-end side, no, some webpack configs, so there's the overriding being done by nestjs Swagger. We have views, so basically this is kind of pages, like parts of the page. We have sign in, sign up so far. We have a router. The router, it's pretty straightforward. Some assets, and it's so far that's it. A lot of focus was done on the backend because it has all the authentication logic. Alright, so that's pretty much it about the code and how to run it. First, I guess we do yarn, and we make sure that yarn is working. I'm just gonna switch to main branch git, because the current branch had some other stuff going on. Let's do the yarn. Damn it. So we need to use NVM and the latest 18th node version. I should lock it just on my machine, so when I open new tab, it falls back to 18 dot something less than it's needed by this project, so it's a bit annoying. Alright, so it's installed. First thing you should do is docker compose up. I like to run it not as the daemon. I like to run it in the terminal, so I would see everything what's going on with all these services I'm using. So for example, I see queries that's being done. Then another one would be an x run and this application, and then what we want out of it. Okay. Let's do that. Let's run the backend now. Patience is the key. Alright, it's running. Okay, everything is green. All of the entity classes are captured. Looks good. Alright, now let's do entity run. And let's run the front end in dev mode. Alright, so it's localhost 4200 port, and it seems everything is running smoothly. Alright, so that's pretty much it of what we have so far, and how everything is structured, and what's the rough idea behind everything. I hope it's useful, and happy coding.